everybody. Went to the library today while I was doing some, work. Okay, let's fix the camera first. Went to the library today for an essay, and they had these nice little packages that you see, the blind dates of books, and like it's poetry. And I'm a sap, so we're doing this tonight. I don't know what's in here, obviously. Book's still sealed. But it's all about hearts in bookstores. I got another one that's Irish poetry. Figured we could do that later. I don't know. Wasn't really in the mood to read like Irish. So I figured this would be a better alternative. And let's see what's in here. Love in a bookstore or your money back. Alright. Decent sized book. Got the nice music on too, because why not? Thought about a fireplace, but I just like the rain better personally. Let's see. I'm terrible at reading out loud. But why not? Okay, no, that's just more poetry. I'm coming back from the Big Lebowski. If I could have written a book just like this film, I would have done so. Dream sequences, deserts, pornographic queens, white suits, and white Russians, and a sense of humor deeper than the cowboy's voice which sends us out into the night saying, Sam Elliott. If I could have written a film, I would have done so. But would I have written you in beside me? This is harder than the $1 million ransom drop off the side of a wooden bridge. Harder than the baseball bat which cracked Jeff Bridges' answers phone like an egg. Sunny side up, but is it dark when we come out and the rain is flying? And it is too hard to write. It is more than hard to write real life. Make more than creative choices. Let's see. Yeah. I didn't get that one because I've never seen The Big Lebowski, which is apparently like a cardinal sin, but like I've never seen a lot of things you're supposed to have seen, so I'm pretty sure it balances out. Sorry, I want to check something real quick here. Don't know how. Are you? We're gonna fade it to the void real quick while I do this. Just wanted to check something. I've been more or less pretending to be a streamer and content creator since like 5th grade. You think I'd have a general idea of what I'm doing by now? Let's get. Okay, it's a very nice picture actually. I want to see if you guys can. Okay, I guess not. Well, there. What's I gotta do? Don't mind. science or chemistry? Your voice on the phone gives a jump start to my heart. Is this cliche? Perhaps. But because you are a scientist, you will understand when I say it is also a fact. I wish I paid attention when we talked about poetry. That's not haiku, but it does rhyme. So, I know haikus, and I know that they're supposed to rhyme, and that's it. That is the extent of my, poetry knowledge. After midnight is a messian. He calls at midnight, tells the truth. For instance, he would rather have a tin of excellent Italian tomatoes than some tasteless hothouse real ones. And a good can of watermelon juice is superior to an indifferent melon. Many women look better after crying. Their faces have a wash clean look. And men are not nothing more than lapdogs. You should take a leaf from the Japanese book, shed your shoes at the door. Afterwards, walk around in socks and listen to the line ringing with absence. Carrying the phone to the window, watch the wires loop around over the dark city. Know only two things with certainty. Silence is not always golden. After midnight is a kind of missing. Bridal. The cork trees that day turned their faces politely away, linking soft arms over their heads. Pollen fell like small pieces of rain, and for that hour we, who had held our breath for most of our shared lives, were not afraid to fall. Like in love? I think that's supposed to be like in love. Sebastian, 6 months old. He fell out of an airmail. He fell out of an airmail envelope with the rustle of wind and a palm tree. Tiny breath of Wellington winter in the middle of that San Diego summer. For 6 months, you sat in the shape of a small square. Birth notice on my fridge. When we met, you already knew how to hold the attention of a coffee table already held. The sky in your eyes, you grew spoons on the ground with determination and grabbed my heart. See, this one I don't get, and I don't know if that's because I am barely literate or this is just beyond my comprehending. Either one's not good, but I'd like to know what your reaction is. Out of the air, no. So is this about like a baby? Maybe? I don't know. Okay, or is it like somebody moved at making sushi in the afternoon with my sister. I wonder what this one's about. I have never made sushi, although I have eaten it in London and LA. But tomorrow at 5:30 in the afternoon, I will be making sushi with my sister. At 5:30, my sister will arrive in her white car with wasabi, rice vinegar, and know-how. The next thing you know, there will be elegant food for the masses, or food for the elegant masses, or both. Tomorrow in the late afternoon, this is what can happen when you have a sister. Later, many hours after 5:30, friends will roll out of my house, wrapped around seaweed wrapped around rice. But your clever fingers, and I will still not know how to make sushi. Buy your clever fingers, and I will still not know how to make sushi. Sushi making is not necessarily in the genes. But when glasses lie on their sides and the street lamp look away from the window, I will know what I can do when you are with me, when you are here. Meeting Nino. Meeting Nino. He emerges slowly into a room he doesn't know. Head thrown back, throat exposed, skin a little grainy from traveling long distances. Even so, he's smiling. He has been sent by you, is parts of you, and so I hold him carefully in my hands, so as not to caress him. This is Nina, arriving by fax. I don't get this one either. Is it because I'm too young? Is that it? Orion, shadow of a passing truck, silver and black, textured with pine needles, sliding as far as the window and beyond. A flea bite on my thigh, itching like a list of things to do. Your arm hot and heavy over me. Your muscles jumping again through the day past. Your mouth moving in my hair like wind in a shelter belt. Calling down sleep with the words, Orion, Orion. Her white fingers. It was that colors that were the important thing. Or so he thought as he sat in the yellow room on the blonde wood chair and looked across at her white fingers. Her white fingers crossing like bird legs, waiting in the pale blue china bowl, folding the brown recycled paper napkin. There is a grain of rice stuck between her two front teeth, and he loves her. God, how he loves her. The water grows milky from the residue of rice left on her light skin. Chopsticks are of the clearest beige. The rind of Ambergin is so dark that it looks like soil, recently cut by a spade. As for the green of the pepper, so light, so bright, it almost makes him cry. In the sound shell, the wind's lips have blown it like an egg and moved on. The wind's lips have blown it like an egg and moved on. We are held in white emptiness. My stillness balances yours. We sit silently in each other's head. Only our eyes move. It is so quiet I can hear the beginning of your life. This is the place between the audible minutes. We exist within paper walls. When you leave, tread carefully. Lufthansa''s 457 to Frankfurt. His feet are prompt against the wall. Expensive, shiny loafers with flat and shiny soles. They might have walked down long Italian streets, those shoes, but they have never stepped over a sea of lawn to you. He asks for newspapers, scans the business page in 3 different European languages, and checks his stocks and shares. He appears to be satisfied with what he reads, the man, but he doesn't know his losses, because he's never talked about the sound of poetry with you. And when his head lies back and he looks at me, there are several recent consonants in his eyes, but they are tired of the world. And because of this, I know one thing without a doubt. They have never looked at you. Oh, I like that word. I like that. Santa Maria de Ferre. That was probably closer all the way down, that's right. Driving at last through a toll gate, past the white dome of the convention center, they made their way into a hot and tired town, tied about with motorways and slumped at the bottom of a valley. There they stopped the car. On foot, they entered a cobble square, where everything was blank and shuttered, for this was a Saturday afternoon in a country which still observes siesta hours. Walking at last through the open doorway of a dark and dusty shop that stocked lemonade brought into that valley some years earlier, they paid their money, drank, lit cigarettes, and turned expecting to see only the disheveled, exhausted, and fray and impossible sky. And they noticed instead a wedding party, riding out of the church doors opposite on the long tongue of a red carpet. The bright bride sailed down the steps towards the next day and all the days to follow, carried behind by the solemn, irrepressible groom. Seen at last that their own intimate past would fade, the roadside stop, smeared in empty sandwich cabinets, the shop girl walking on curled, disconsolate toenails towards the cash register. Believing this, they too emerged into the heat and felt its breath as an affirmation on their face. That is, it despair, and they heard song in the hot trees. To be honest, I think my delivery could have been better there. Angel, you have a big head, said the sun conversationally, and a big heart for someone who is only 2. My prediction for you, said the sun in a casual kind of way. But already the baby had closed his eyes, shutting them down like cool vignettes. For although he was only 2 years old, for although he was only 2 years wise, he knew that the sun could occasionally be unreliable, and also that it was easier to grow undazzled by others' expectations. I like it. If it's all by this guy, he does like in parentheses, and like it's not really plot relevant, it's more like sass, and I appreciate that. December. You arrived in the night, quietly like the snow. When I looked out, the houses had been picked up and put back in a different place. Stairways were made beautiful, the trees sang, in small white voices, people smiled. Okay, and that's the rest of that. Gallery. Olivia talks of escape, while over her shoulder monster faces stare. Their pupils reveal recent contact with a photographer, but each incidental touch sets them quivering. Olivia talks of escape, under gallery light, as deathly as mountains. The light on the photograph's dimple of the faces is as sharp as a razor. From the opposite wall, the German scent frown, fingerprints smearing their glass shoulders. Smoke hangs, flag-like in the air, metal frames suspended above bent necks. All calmness is manufactured here, and all the pupils are blue. All the pupils are blue, said the gallerist. But the concrete floor strikes upwards like a snake, and Olivia talks of escape. While outside, trams are hurtling toward the final hour. The Capinos equation for Mika Capinos. Capinos. The Capinos equation for Micah Capinos. Okay, there we go. Also, it's dedicated. He was a big man, but he hunched all of his 6 foot under the table when speaking of his arrival at the barracks of the 3rd Division. Around noon in 1979, where soon he would begin 16-hour days alongside a fleshy butcher from East Germany, making meatballs for 3,000 in pans recently vacated by rats. Making meatballs for 3,000 in pans recently vacated by rats. Outside the steaming windows, the Warsaw Pack was collapsing, and there were faces in the flying mud. And the occasional night was spent in a metal car in the middle of the forest because Russia had decided to invade Afghanistan. Once, on answering no 3 times to the question, have you done machine gun shooting or hand grenades, he was taken away from his hot plate into a dual landscape of snow and sand. Or passing an officer with a face on fire, he was ushered into an enclosed and handed 1 small metallic object, which he proceeded to throw straight and hard through the middle of the shouts and instructions and the general panic. Then he walked on out of there to begin 10 more months of cooking from 0600 to 22 o'clock, for although at the age of 16 he had been an Olympic high jumper and had soared above the bar, he was equally skilled at keeping his head down when he knew better. Okay, that is clearly Berlin Wall falling or something akin to Soviet Russia era. I'm just not enough of a history nerd to know what. So. Now, let's see. A green china squirrel in a shop window. Well, it says all that needs to be said. That small china squirrel sitting in the window over there. Its stomach holds the clear green swell of an afternoon too full of itself to rely on. The hunch of its head, its chipped, immobile ears tell us everything about when and where. For instance, it is late in the year. The light is heading for the hills, It is time for hoarding. There is hunger in the air. Oh, this one's a little longer. Dinosaur times. You have brought me closer to extinction than I have ever been in the whole of my middle-sized life. You, who are not even extraordinary, with your round-toed shoes, your polite, well-modulated voice, and your way of sometimes using the word quiet instead of quite. After which you would bite your lip. You led me to the very edge of a ravine on a day so cold that breathing felt like a payback for some kind of happiness. Together we looked down on road markets of mist and the gray metallic fingernails of the gulls, a sight seen more often from below. And although my lungs hurt, you made me stay and look down further, still to where a desert lay, scattered with white chalky remains. Once I had acknowledged the bottom of the world, you pointed out how far away from it we were, and how close the sky was to our face on that particular day. If you climbed on my shoulders, you said, I expect you could touch it. Then after we had stood for quite some time, where no one, we believe, had ever stood before, you took yourself away. You took yourself away neatly, surgically, with the greatness of skill you who were not even extraordinary. After your removal, I lay quiet among the bones, listening to the birds cry. Each day had the potential to become an age. And I would say this to you now, if it were not for my constant vigilance over the state of my heart, if not for the hard-won years stacked at the back like a wall, if not for the hard-won years stacked at my back like a wall to lean on in times of fright. Well, let's just say that for the first time, and because of you, there was nearly no more of me. The Big Woman and the Tiny Woman. She has the big woman's thing about tiny women. She has the big woman's thing about tiny women. At least, that's what the rest of the room has been told before the entrance of the tiny woman, who sits now on the floor in front of the big woman. She, that is the big woman, sits on the sofa, tilting towards her millionaire man, and presses her large red mouth to his with huge intensity, while the tiny woman sits on the floor, politely sipping punch. She wonders what to say when the red mouth comes off, the rich one. You see, she, that is the tiny woman, has the single woman's fear of the married woman. I don't get that one, but I am neither big woman, nor tiny woman, nor medium woman. It must be a woman thing. Yeah, I still don't get it. Catching up with family. The three girls stand, wearing ponchos and in varying shades of brown, that their uncle had bought them back from Peru. One of them is 4, in parentheses. They stand in varying brown poses against a faded brown fence made from long pieces of photographed wood. One of them is a heart surgeon, in parentheses. Their faces are screwed up against the sun in varying attitudes of decaying against a burnt-out fence, crisscrossed with long shade. One of them has survived skin cancer, in parentheses. The tallest one had flung her Peruvian hand over the knitted neck and shoulders of the smallest. All of them could be under 6. They are lit by fringes of llama wool that has been brought long distances from the glaring white slopes of the Andes. Their uncle has since been caught in an avalanche. They stand on the kitchen windowsill in a surprising state of symmetry, brought about by a trick of photography. One of them might possibly be dead. Faces screwed up against the sundial, back to the defensive fence, eyes wired up to stare down time. Okay, no, I get this one. So it's a photo. So it's talking about a photograph where all 4 sisters are in, and then the one of them is 4 is referring to the one of them is 4, and all of them could be under 6. is how this is when they were children. And then the one of them is heart surgeon, and one of them has skin cancer, and the one of them may be dead, and the alcohol caused the avalanche is how after that photo was taken. And if you didn't hear any of that, that's because I need to work on enunciating, which is like a part of the reason I'm doing this. Infidelity of a kind. I've been dreaming about you the whole night long, I said. This is what I said after the morning came. I can't read that. The truth was, I had only dreamt of you once. The rest of the time, it had been about other men parading through our black bedroom, walking in one side of my head and out the other, leaving behind residual lust and the dust of many more, far greater word I cannot read, than the one I just had. Heading from the front door, those men, before morning came along, and they got their asses kicked by consciousness. Biodegradable. Truly poetry. Such a weird name. I'm sorry, poems have weird names, and like that's just... The walls of your life are getting thinner. Soon they will fold in on each other. One, and they will be ready for recycling. The walls of your life are getting thinner. Okay, so we're painting. Soon they will fold in on each other. So we're losing walls because we're losing time. One, and you will be ready for recycling. Oh, because when you put it in the ground, or if you decompose. Okay. On receiving bad news at the Aldefine Motel. It's Italian. It's either Italian or it's French, but I cannot pronounce it. Right there, right in front of the motel. It's not focusing, but like you can kind of see it. There we go. There, you see it now. There. Alright. Anyway, back to poetry. Wet jasmine, and she has the feeling that her heart has fallen down and won't be getting up in a hurry. Lawn made of astroturf is hidden underwater. Travesty of its lime green self. Travesty in itself. And she is watching. A heavy woman in a dark blue hat, walking up the drive with a stride like thunder. There is a cake tin. In the woman's hand, why? There is a cake tin in her hand. And the ricochet rain is hammering on the jumbly lid. The newspaper sky rips overhead. Her eyes are disintegrating, but still she is blindly certain that the thunderous woman will always be walking with the tin. She never would have guessed it. She has known it forever. Like the same old saying, and the band plays on. Same rain, same band, the tin, the rain, and the band. And, you see, already she is settling into the long stride of grief. Arriving yourself. When you arrive, well, little to do except wait for some kind of settling. Nothing to do but take off your fake fur coat in 32 degree heat, while a 1 minute person with a good heart stops your suitcase from being wheeled away. Little to do but go to bed, lie back, and listen to the weather. Hail on the skylight, a welcome violence that could be mistaken for happiness. Nothing else for it, but turn your head on the pillow looking for familiarity, which appears at two windows wearing two different faces, and is unfamiliar in both. Floating in the astronaut hour. Suddenly the future was nowhere to be seen. On its long, pale legs it had run out of the room and into the street, so that in a matter of minutes it had disappeared. While you were bent over the present, fully absorbed, yes, while you had been given your full attention to a man, a woman, a job, or the lyrics of a particularly beautiful and evasive song. Yes, while you had been so busy there bending inside the closed room. While you had been so busy and so grave, intent on identifying what was right in front of you, the future had simply picked itself up packed itself up and run silently away, leaving no echoes behind, and only the faintest sense of ever having been there. Nothing more than air which might not have settled back into place. Once you realize this is your sense of unease was profound, and you also rushed outside onto the high balcony. Okay, there's more. 5 floors below you are the traffic. 5 floors below you, the trafficking street. You crane down and out, hoping for some glimpse of running months ahead, for some reminder of what it is to be connected. The scorch of the handrail, the slice of the tile on the blooded underside of a toe, a reminder of what it was to anticipate pain or healing. But above you the sky was crossed like a donkey's back, and the distant scream of the trams below had nothing to do with you. Because of your earlier, some would say your excessive attention to detail, yes. Because you're careless or you overcare. Now here you were, floating in the astronaut hour, which is what most people dream of not realizing, unless at some stage the future has flung itself away from them too. That too much space is indefinitely more disturbing than too little. The radiologist. Are you okay? He says. And you know I'm going to hurt you. He is so nice to you that a tear falls from the side of your eye. No one uses fountain pens anymore. But he has 6 grandchildren, so he's allowed to leak ink into your veins, ready to read you over the weekend. And it's not the I'm trying to get this one. And it's not the anchorism. You lie watching the paper towel dispenser watch metal move gravelly over you like the moon over several nights and days. He doesn't tell you anything, and you don't want to know. You lie flat on a flat table. Would you like to prepare yourself with apron strings of lead? Want nothing to do with the long corridor waiting outside. Want never to be delivered out of a professional hands into your own again. For some reason I was thinking DJ when I heard radiologist, and that is horrendously wrong. I guess it comes with being a DJ, I guess. Just a better. I don't know. Weather reports on the kitchen table late at night. The newspaper says that it is 2 degrees in Ulsa. Sunny, but close to freezing. The ISO bears say it will only be getting colder there, where you are. There, or in Helsinki, where you also occasionally work, and where there will be snow before tomorrow comes. And I will be glad to think of you, clapped hands in pockets, eyes tight closed against the separate slaps of the wind, cold and getting colder. The truth of it is, I would like you to feel as cold as I felt when hearing your voice at the end of a flat, uncomprehending phone line for the last time. That was weather reports on the kitchen table late at night, because I don't think I said it when I started. I need a rocking chair for this. I need like an old creaky rocking chair. The pomegranate is seductive. It's redder than your tongue. It wants you to touch it. It asks you to open it with your mouth. Instead, it's full of say that one on either. It ends with the pomegranate is a shattering disappointment, though, in bold text. So this man is either using an analogy I don't get, or really hates pomegranates. Restless. The light falls hard tonight, like a blow on the back of the neck, making it hard to remember people's names when you come to say goodbye. It set off across the empty green field. The wind always waits for you there. Outside the cars have sucked, the streets dry and still all the way to go home. weaving your way through a world of patio furniture and bad haircuts. You are being squeezed in the angle of these streets. The need to move on is growing at the base of your spine like a tumor, only a matter of time. Before you spit the stale air, cut on out of there. You are every man, no man. Running low. Watch me shriek as I run along the waterfront. The more I think, the more I am diminished. Would be 20 people, can only be one. I missed the whole section, that's bad. Hold on. Running low. Watch me shriek as I run along the waterfront. Arms, legs, nothing more. Feet falling after a rise to meet the flat, undramatic pavement. The more I think, the more I am diminished. Would be 20 people, can only be one. And do this one thing only, running low. Keep arms prescribing angles in the dull air. Move feet towards a crowd that might or might not be watching. And also with the knowledge that there is a Swedish singer, a Russian actress, Greta Garbo, or Marlene Dietrich, waiting in the wings, larger than a one life or 20, waiting for me to dwindle to an insignificant point at which time they will stroll back into. Sensation white. There is a time where the sky above you is so huge that you should throw a stone high above your head. You might never see that stone again. A time when the horizon has become so hard and bright that you are afraid to glance that way in case you lose your sight. A time when, searching from the ground, you see only your own reflected legs stretching to infinity, so it is no longer possible to walk. This is a sensation often referred to as grief. I call it a waiting time, or simply wait. New York 4. And all the books at Barnes & Noble have jagged edges, reminding me of where they came from, cut from the arms of dried and yellow American states that you will never see. And the lack of sleep suddenly falls heavy under your shoulders like a yoke, so that as you climb to the second floor, your feet kick the steps. A shop full of wood and strangers, and outside Soho, glittering into the evening. No one to talk to until you find Frank O'Hara. Fall into his words with relief and a catch in your throat like a sob, like a flaw in paper. Because he knew what it was to be the Manhattan Raw, for the streets to flick you like a finger bent and released, oblivious to you and your personal history, which tonight has slipped through your fingers like a subway ticket into a drain. Outside the streets are running with people. That was a bit much. Outside the streets are running with people. Panic slides into anger with a punch and the rain starts. Shelter in a doorway, smelling of piss and paint. Under your boots are sandwich crusts. Your only foothold in the whole of this dark and roaring New York City. Running fast down Manhattan East Side, and not so fast down the West, past the foxy black girls in their three-quarter pants, with flowers in each of their hand, with flowers in their hair. It's a foxy, fast black Sunday in the village, and the heart is rising. In the meatpacking district, there's blood on the walls. Piss on the cobblestone and vomit in the doorway. But the Statue of Liberty stands firm and the clouds clear away from a week of rain. Oh, this one's long. $5 palm readers put their feet up on folding tables and croon. Round the bottom of the island up past the fisher markets. Middle of the morning and the vendors long gone, leaving shining scales in the air. Anger at the turnstile of Broadway and Lafayette. The ticket seller's voice is magnified and booms across the platform to clash head on with the oncoming train. Well, his angry legs and arms are cramped into a glass box in a trick of the world. carved in half daily between his hot home country and New York in July. Too many Julys and repeated humidity have made him sick for home, so that all he can say in the magnified words, "I am a nice person," and I still not be able to hear his own defense. She sits in the dark blue chair, while the staple marks in the arms retrieved from a pile of junk on Henry Street, which slips all the way down to the Hudson River. There she sits, faint sweat marks under her arm and a sweat on her lip, and around her head the wings of resentment. She is cornered, but she will not learn. With her dark blue silence, wills others not to leave. Tension shines on her high cheekbones. Outside a riot or a baseball game in the street. Inside a sometime mundane, child feverish in the neck caught. Fruit flies humming and the hot bananas. Okay, so that was the end of that. How the world goes on. Running out of newspaper and not ready to eat breakfast, I turn to poetry. Remember Primo Levi, and the pigeons purring all summer. When I look outside, the sky is already purple. The tree is lit. Cars streaming through the snow. The winter. She sat for a long time, looking at the riddle of her next book. The night went on. The writer. Ooh, I'm a writer. That's the name of it. I'll restart. That's my bad. She sat for a long time, looking at the riddle of her next book. The night went on. Footsteps went past the door. The door banged. She sat for a long time, looking at the riddle of her next book. A quotation, a clipping from a newspaper, and something about someone she had once known. This is all she had been given. The door to the country yard banged. The clock banged on into the night. She sat for a lengthy, looking time, knowing no one but she could solve it. And in so doing, she became the clock, the night, the closing door, the words on the page, and the white hush between the words. Knowing no one but she could solve it brought with it a certain resolution, as hard and pale as Night City. And like the city, she would wait for a slow turning of time to take hold of the riddled ground, stretch its long arms through the vacant riddled streets, and so in this long waiting way map out an answer. The haiku master is dead, in memory of Kenichi Shiwaka. Kenichi Shiwaka? I apologize, this is dedicated to you, and I royally used your name. The haiku master is dead. The haiku master is dead. Brevity in a box where once it grew serene, stretched its arms to the limitless white sky, opens its mouth, drank rain. She sang green, and moved to blue. Green, she sang, and sang it on, till suddenly all the green came leaking out of the grass, and the bushes gave up on her, becoming shadows of their former selves. And after that, there were no more green in the world of her, in the whole of her whole wide world. She moved to blue. Blue, she cried, and almost immediately color fell from the sky, dropping in sheets around her until she was drenched in blue. After a while, the sun dried the color white, leaving her as pale and white as she had ever been before. Brown, she called in an impernative voice, and sure enough, Brown leapt from the trunks of the trees, running low over the bleached grass like the body of a small moving animal. Once it's reached the horizon, it paused just for a minute, and then it was gone. After that, what was left for her to do? Nothing but sit and stare at her own commanding hand, the only thing left to her, for she had not yet learned to mix her colors, and that they might last longer. Reading at the Dagliere. Chinese and German, neither my language. Two people speaking. Page after page of poetry, my language. See how the overheard projector shimmers with hidden meaning. See the hot words hang in the air like exotic blossoms. Quite beautiful. Poetry is the hardest thing. I, not knowing how poetry went anymore, or even if I'd have ever had it, I went out to get drunk. Vodka sharpens the mind like a pencil. Looking around for words is like following garage sale signs the day after everything's already in other people's houses. I don't feel too good today. Poetry pouring out of me like a wound won't dry up. I remember words and a leaving with the radio still telling the news. Graham Greene said happiness was hard. I paraphrase and say that we are most ourselves when we are sad. Cup after cup of hot water, the bell ringing below me, shaking the house, about it like a heart. It's that time of the day when everyone else thinks about home, and I write. Poem for Annie. Hearing you read in a sing-song voice takes me here and there like a kite. Suddenly the roof lifts off the auditorium and your voice flies out into the afternoon night, random and unerring as a sky rockets, launched from your golden head, your thin yellow book, your thin and steady hands. Ooh, we're getting close to the end, boys. Let's see. We are very close to the end, boys. The Not Just. His name was Matt, and he stood in front of me, in his Hawaiian print shirt, in his Westland High Library, in the Westland High Library. And he told me he'd been reading the dictionary, because he was on the hunt for the new words, like commodity. He was just doing a series of doors pulled from junkyards and backyards. Commodity. And these doors would carry words other than exit or office manager, allowing a viewer to step on through into a new linguistic world. Step on fairly fast too, not like walking through the pages of a dictionary where the sleeve of your interest is content snagged by a word like monody. He'd also tried reading the Bible, and he told me as he stood there with paint on his hands, but this book had gone on a bit and could have done with some editing. Behind us, the return slots were thumping like a heartbeat as people posted back their books. They would go on them to the bank, or though they revolving doors of a supermarket, or perhaps to a funeral, where they might also hear a melody, or a threnody. And behind in the gray, lamenting Tasman loud in his ears. Joe on a Monday afternoon. For Joe Bennett. Hey, I can finally pronounce the name. You call to read me a column on carrots and I decide you are an onion. You have many layers. It is Monday. There is rain and a sun outside. Jenny Berholt said life is a bowl of onions. It can make you both laugh and weep. I say the taste of life would be different without you. Less sharp, less sweet. Love in a bookstore, your money back. Hey, it's the namesake. I didn't know poetry followed album rules, but okay. Love in a bookstore, your money back. I stood in a bookstore, successfully picking up poet after poet. Even Frank O'Hare and T.S. Eliot, who had always attracted me most. Their spines felt good in my hands, and suddenly I realized this wasn't guaranteed. Love is always to be found in bookstores. That was shorter than expected. And surprisingly enjoyable, even though I'm not a poet. I did not understand most of it. But it was good music and good poetry for my understanding.